Lila Hayden will be introduced by her father, Patrick Hayden.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lila's dad. She said I only have 45 minutes to introduce and praise her, so I better get started. Just kidding about the 45-minute bit, but not about the praise part. Little Lila, your mom and I love you. You're joyful, kind, intelligent, usually obedient, usually respectful, fun, funny, thoughtful, and curious. You're not afraid to laugh at yourself. Your ridiculous misuse of new vocabulary words and frequent disregard of basic rules of grammar are constant sources of entertainment. Your sense of humor and quirkiness adds so much sparkle to our family. That need to take emergency earrings and emergency perfume wherever you go, your habit of giving personal names to mundane household items. You even have gotten your mom and me into the habit of also calling that water bottle you never wash, Yeti baby. Your uncanny ability to cry and laugh at the same time, cry-affing is what we call it at home. You make our family complete. You smile with your eyes, and you're able to bring smiles to everyone in the room. Your mom and I are very proud of what you've accomplished in and out of the classroom. It's been a fantastic journey you've taken us on these past 17 years, and we're excited about the adventures ahead with college just around the corner. And though our helicoptering style of parenting will necessarily have to change, much to your relief, I suspect, we will always remain your loudest cheerleaders. I now introduce to you Lila Hayden.
Good morning, everyone. On our family trip to India earlier this year, we visited Fort Kochi, famous for its quaint shops and eateries. We stumbled upon a shop my family and I had visited 10 years prior. Little Queen Embroidery is a store like no other. It sells handmade lace and embroidery pieces made by Indian female artisans. These women, often widows or fishermen wives, spend decades mastering the art of lace making and embroidery, frequently having to use up to 72 distinct threads. Lace making requires hours upon hours of work. The store owner, Thomas, proudly showed us an embroidery piece with thousands of French knots, all done by hand. He then pulled out even more lace samples and embroidered pieces to tell us about, all requiring hundreds of hours and thousands of threads. I've studied and practiced embroidery for years, and never before had I seen work so intricate. With each square inch having several hundred stitches, an array of colors blossomed on the fabrics. However, as Thomas told us, many of these pieces would not be made again. Unfortunately, there were not women who wanted to learn how to make lace or embroider pieces, considering the wages would be so low. What used to be a moderately stable job was now a job where women made around 5,000 rupees, or around $59 US per month. Thomas told us that one of his most talented lace makers had to quit her job at the lace shop and become employed at a nearby hotel washing dishes because she made more money that way. I left the shop feeling sad that day, unsure if I would ever set foot in this place again. While I can't make lace yet, I do value craftsmanship. I understand how time-consuming a handmade good can be. I enjoy making things like friendship bracelets and quilts because I know how special it is to receive something handmade, something crafted by a real person. One of my favorite pastimes is making friendship bracelets. I started making them when I was really young, with a babysitter who had a bin of extremely tangled strings. My first bracelet was an absolute mess. The uneven knots, coupled with the completely unsymmetrical face, barely even looked like a bracelet. I practiced week after week that summer at making bracelets, and by the end, I could finally make something that actually resembled a friendship bracelet. Fast forward to the spring of my 8th grade. I had just decided to transfer schools, yet I was devastated about leaving my close friends that I had been with for 9 whole years. I wanted to make something for my friends. For me, friendship bracelets are physical manifestations of my admiration for someone. Every knot means something to me, as I hope it does to the receiver. I started asking my friends their favorite color combinations, and for the next few weeks of spring, I diligently used my extra time to craft these one-of-a-kind mementos. While the process of making these bracelets is cathartic and centering, gifting them to my friends filled me with happiness. Friendship bracelets continued to help strengthen connections for many years after. At the Governor Scholars Program this past summer, I quite literally spent hours making friendship bracelets with and for my friends. I even mailed some back home to my friends here. Making these and gifting them builds connection, and even a gesture as simple as this can mean the most. The beauty of friendship bracelets is oftentimes you learn the patterns from others. For example, my sister taught me some of the most intricate patterns I know how to make, patterns that she learned at her summer camp. At the Governor Scholars Program, I taught some of my friends these special patterns, as they also taught me some new ones too. This exchange and dispersion of knowledge is what makes friendship bracelets like a universal language that we can all learn to understand with a bit of practice. An even larger form of art that requires even more patience and time is quilting. My grandmother taught me how to machine sew almost 5 years ago. When I hit that sewing machine pedal for the first time, I never imagined that many years later, this hobby would have grown into so many different forms. My favorite way to sew would be quilting. With each step being 10 within itself, making a quilt feels like the process is never ending. Oftentimes when I start, I have no idea if I will ever finish. This uncertainty is calming though, because I love having a project to work on. I started to quilt because of an independent study here at Collegiate, where I was trying to earn 1/4 of an art credit. I didn't want to go the traditional quilting route, so I decided to celebrate my Italian heritage with an Italian seaside landscape quilt. I modeled my quilt after Cinque Terre in northern Italy, which, if you don't know, is a picturesque coastal town where pastel-colored houses are stacked against the cliffside to create a collage of distinct structures all jumbled together. For my first quilt, I was quite nervous, so I enlisted the help of Pat, an older woman who is a quilt artist. One beautiful thing about handmade crafts is that we are often learning from one another. If we are open to it, opportunities will come for us to learn more. Pat guided me through the process of making the quilt, from choosing the fabric to cutting all of the many, many pieces to doing applique and finally long arm quilting it. A long arm is a 12-foot-long machine with the precision of a millimeter. It took immense control to guide the machine where to sew, but I loved it. After that, I had to hand sew the border, which isn't really that ideal, but it gave me an excuse to watch Gossip Girl while I stitched. Pat sharing her own quilting knowledge with me was special, and I'm forever indebted to her for taking the time to help me out. Since then, I've completed 2 additional quilts and look forward to June when I know I can start again. Sharing quilts with others is one of the best parts of the activity. The Kentucky State Fair Quilt Show has been an important part of my year for the past 3 summers. With entering my quilts over the years, I've received feedback that's allowed me to improve in the technical aspect even more for the next year. Every year, I look forward to walking around the quilt show inside to admire all the other competitors' quilts. Coming from all corners of Kentucky, the quilted creations that some people make are astoundingly intricate. We can all learn something by looking at another person's quilt. I'm always determined to be better at my crafts, whether that be embroidery, making friendship bracelets, or quilting. Crafting art is a restorative process and has helped me make deeper connections with people and communities near and far to me. These age-old lessons of crafted art are not taught in schools. We must learn from one another to pass down this knowledge. Following our trip to India, I joked to my parents that they should let me move to India so that I could work in Thomas's lace shop. While they instantaneously shot down that idea, I do hope to always continue making art and sharing it with others. Thank you.
Our second speaker today is Jack Riley. Jack will be introduced by his siblings, Kate and Charles.
We wouldn't be here today without Jack. He saved our lives. When we were 4, we were locked in Kate's room. It was me, Kate, our housekeeper, Stella, and our babysitter. Jack was the only one in the house not locked in the room. In crisis, our babysitter resorted to the obvious decision of climbing out the window and crawling on the roof. Unfortunately, in an emergency like this, the only adult left in the room had a language barrier. As our babysitter was gone, Estella, our housekeeper, took her flip phone and slid it under the door to Jack. At 6 years old, and with no adult supervision, Jack heroically and strategically called her mom and she came home. What a hero.
We chose to share this story today because it demonstrates Jack's character. Problem solving, loyalty, remaining positive when times get tough, and most importantly, the ability to make someone's day better. You keep us laughing and smiling every day. We are so proud of you and what you are going to become. Seriously, we wouldn't be the people we are today without the blessing of growing up alongside you. We are happy to introduce our brother, Jack Riley.
Good morning. What is something that almost every single person on planet Earth has done? Giving someone a gift. Gifting other people and receiving gifts from others has been a popular act of gratitude for centuries. They say it is better to give than receive, but I think both giving gifts and receiving gifts is pretty great. Over the course of many, many years, many different people have gifted me many different things, and in return, I have gifted them also many different things. In fact, today, you are all giving me a few minutes of your time, and in return, I am speaking to you all. So today, I'm going to be talking about the idea of gifts and how both gifts I have given and received have made me the person I am today. The culture behind gift giving is immediately displayed to us as children. Ranging from holidays to birthdays, parents teach children that when a person loves and appreciates another person, gifts are exchanged. And these gifts can be anything you want them to be, and can be gifted whenever you like them to be. On my 7th birthday, I woke up and, as per usual, I begged my parents to let me open one of my gifts before they left for work. After endless persistence, I finally convinced them. I still vividly remember ripping apart the wrapping, filled with excitement, wondering what could be inside the big, tall box. With crumpled wrapping around me in a heap, I paused in awe. The box had a happy, smiling child on the front, and a jungle-themed background filled with endless possibility. It was a metal detector. Immediately, my imagination went wild, dreaming about everything I could find. Jewelry, diamonds, treasure. While my parents were at work, I explored with my brand new metal detector at my side for hours. As a way of saying thank you, I was extremely determined to find the shiniest piece of treasure as a gift for my parents. Skipping around my home, I searched my backyard, random ditches, my neighbors' yards, and more. It felt like I was playing a video game, searching for some sort of hidden golden skull or a miniature emerald that could save the entirety of Jumanji. After all, my grandfather had always told me mysterious stories about how we were, in fact, related to Spanish pirates, which is why I knew that there was adventure in my blood. I imagined my grandfather's face as I found millions of dollars in gold buried beneath the sandbox in my backyard. Well, surprisingly, I did not find any golden treasure in that same sandbox. I did, however, manage to come across a few gift-worthy items that I could give to my family. Some pink hydrangeas, even though my mom had planted the hydrangeas herself, and it was still a nice gift. Random dirty McDonald's toys for my siblings, which we lost at one point, hence why they were in the sandbox, and of course, some cool rocks. Another one of the gifts I distinctly remember is when my mom took me, my siblings, and my grandmother to see the Blue Man Group when I was 11 years old. The Blue Man Group is composed of 4 men who paint their entire bodies blue and conduct comedy acts without actually speaking. My mom was able to secure us some tickets in the first few rows, otherwise referred to as the poncho zone. When walking into the theater, we were told to 1, put on our ponchos, and 2, do not leave the theater under any circumstances. This was because any loud entrances and exits would distract from the performance. These rules shouldn't be a problem, right? Wrong. About halfway through the performance, the Blue Man Group called a random woman from the back of the theater up onto the stage. She sat on a blue chair, while one of the blue men whispered something in her ear. To the audience's surprise, another one of the blue men took out a box filled with Twinkies and began to feed the so-called lucky woman these Twinkies. However, instead of having her swallow those said Twinkies, she spat them out into some sort of machine. The machine ended up being some kind of spray gun, where before I knew it, the blue men were dumping the chewed up Twinkies into the machine and shooting them at people located in the poncho zone, aka me and my family. Out of general curiosity and confusion, I made the grave mistake of opening my mouth wide open, causing a piece of the chewed up Twinkie to shoot right into my mouth. I swelled up with both disgust and shock. And I decided to gift my poor grandmother sitting next to me with a pool of vomit directly on her lap. I don't think anyone has been more ecstatic to be wearing a poncho. The hydrangeas now seem like a good gift comparatively. However, this raises the question, what exactly constitutes a gift? A present, a thoughtful act? People close to me have given these extravagant gifts every year I've been alive as a sign of appreciation. And in return, what did I give them? As I'm sure all of you can relate, a lot of times we tend not to know exactly what we should give the people in our lives, which is how we end up asking questions like, Dad, what do you want for Father's Day? Because it is genuinely difficult to find something good enough to match everything they have given us our entire lives. And it's even worse when they say they don't want anything in return, because it makes you even more confused. However, over my life, I have realized that my loved ones are in fact correct. The best gift a person can give is time. Whether we like it or not, every person in this room has limited amounts of time with their loved ones. So, whenever your dad gives you constant college recommendations, or when your almost stepfather cooks you some dinner, or when your mom forces you into a 20-second hug, or when Ellie Rupee randomly buys you eye cream after you were complaining about your eye bags, just remember to be thankful for the experience you are receiving rather than the gift itself. Even though I never found the buried treasure of my Spanish ancestors, or made it to the end of the Blue Man Group show, I'm still very, very thankful for every minute of the biggest present of them all, life. Thank you.
Can we get another round of applause, please?